Hi everyone, my name is Tony Mastromarino. I'm a software engineer and I have ADHD. Really difficulty kind of collecting tasks and breaking those down. It's also really hard with projects.
I see. And I would imagine with more software or the assistant from AI, it actually can help more customize the needs of individual instead of a group of people. Hello, welcome back to our channel, the Data AI Chat with Eva. Today we have a very special guest, Tony Mastromarino, an AI enthusiast and the brilliant mind behind Para, an accessibility app empowered by AI. Today we will be diving into his journey of building this app and to chat about the latest AI trend. So, welcome, Tony. Could you tell us a little bit more about your background and what inspired you to build this Para accessibility app?
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Tony Mastromarino. I'm a software engineer and I have ADHD. So those of you who don't know, ADHD stands for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is a flavor of neural function, I like to say, that is characterized by inattentivity, hyperactivity, impulsivity, and also a bit of creativity sprinkled in there.
As you said, you had ADHD. Is this one of the reasons that inspired you to start Para?
Yes. I mean, I've lived with ADHD my entire life. I mean, living in our world and society, it's not necessarily designed for kind of people like me with my flavor, the spicy brain function, I suppose, which has made things a little difficult and navigating that. So like the educational system and other systems around that. And so I'm working on Para to help kind of raise the floor for other people with ADHD and experiencing similar problems. And there's quite a few of us, because I think it's estimated around like 5% of people end up having ADHD. And in the US, 16 million people alone, or like twice the size of New York City. So if you got all the people together in one classroom, that would be one chaotic classroom.
Imagine the traffic now currently in your city, right? But I'm glad this has inspired you and you're working toward empowering and making this community better. I heard from you that you wish you had this app like when you were a student, right?
Yeah.
But now you're a software engineer and you can work more toward this. It's a good way to give back, I would say, but also with your own experience, because not everyone has know this much about possibly an app or an accessibility app could be developed. With that said, can you share with us some like specific features that make it stand out?
Yeah. So, I mean, as you're saying, with me essentially being a user, like I have kind of not necessarily a unique perspective, but some insight into some of the things that people with ADHD struggle with. And so, yeah, I'm essentially trying to create this app to be something that I wish I had, and to also help me just in my life as is. And doing anything from an accessibility standpoint is a hard thing to do. Is a newer idea, let alone making things that everyone can use. That's an even newer part. And so when it comes to Para, this is still again a very like pre-alpha state here, so I don't really have too many demos there to show. However, I think it could be useful to show a demo of Gen AI in an accessibility context.
Okay, that's very cool.
Yeah, so kind of an inspiration for me.
Okay.
Called Goblin Tools.
Okay, so let's start our demo. I'll hand this computer to Tony.
So this is Goblin Tools, one example of a generative AI app applied to accessibility. So this is a collection of tools really for those on the neurodiverse spectrum here. So really big shout out to, let's see, Bram de Beiser. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but for making this and making it accessible to everyone. But yeah, so the first tool I want to take a look at is this Magic To Do, which helps to kind of break things down for you. And like as we're talking about with ADHD, this is something that people with ADHD with a lot is actually coming up with realistic manageable little bits of tasks that they can do in order. And so this helps to accomplish that. So we can put in something. So
I want to learn about Gen AI.
Yeah, learn generative AI. So we can put in a task. We can choose how much we need to break it down, the spiciness level. You feeling spicy?
Yeah, 4 feels like a good breakdown.
All right, so we've added this little to-do here, and we can press this magic wand to break it down. Tell us how to do this. All right, and it's come up with a bunch of different steps here. So we've got like research various resources, identify key concepts, choose a programming language. A lot of these are still really general though, and I think we need to break it down a bit more.
Research various resources.
Yeah, right. I want some steps. I think I might adjust this a little bit, and yeah, break it a bit more. All right, so search for online articles about generative AI. Tell me more.
Tell me more.
What does that mean? Okay, here we go. Now it tells me step by step. Open up a search engine, type in generative AI articles, press enter. So it tells us basically just go Google it and click on various links. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, I like it. It's like I don't need to think at all.
Yes.
I just like follow the step.
Yep.
And once you follow one of it, you feel good about it. You continue.
Like it's really useful, especially like if you're a little overwhelmed or again just kind of need a direction to go. So something that's kind of useful and like we see this like in our educational environments. You have like these worksheets essentially which tell you step by step how to do this thing. This essentially is a kind of a worksheet generator for whatever you need to do, which is really helpful. If we wanted to,
how about the check for online courses?
Yeah, what does this tell us to do?
It's still pretty broad. Like,
yeah,
I know I wanted to look for online courses, but like where and what, right?
Yeah, and it's still just really general.
Yeah, this is still like research. Is it telling me open the browser?
Oh yeah, it's just going to tell you to search.
Okay, so as you know, like these are still like, well, I appreciate it breaks down the flow, right? So like when you search for this, you actually will get something like a good start.
Yeah, it's not. I mean,
it's not like LLM that you would directly suggest you to a place or a link or something, but yeah, I think this is helpful in general in every situation, every tool. It's like universal solving one of the pain points.
Yes,
I often have like I have like two
broad goals
and ideas that I wanted to achieve. Dream. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so this is just one of the tools. There's a ton of other ones. So really useful tool where we can convert language. So you can just kind of type out something and you can make it more professional or formal, more informal, which can be helpful, especially for people who kind of have a hard time with setting tone and language.
Like me. English as secondary language. It's like, I would say this is like one of the part that I constantly struggle with, and as well as taking most of my time. So like when I'm like debating if I should send this request out, I'm thinking that does it sound like what I actually wanted to convey? It's more like it's not like I don't want to be misunderstood, but it's like I want to convey this exactly, but I'm not sure if this actually delivers. So
yeah, another
get your butt over here.
I mean, this is a lot more professional. Could you please come to this location? Another useful tool here is the judge. So like so like you were just saying, like how is this? You have an idea of what you want to convey, conveying that. So you can put in your email and have it
tell you, judge it, to tell you what the tone is. Or if you're so this is particularly helpful for a lot of people on the autism spectrum, because they have a really hard time trying to figure out the social cues and the tones of things, and kind of miss that sometimes. And so this can be really helpful for people who experience that challenge to understand kind of what the meaning behind something is.
Well, I think I'm going to love this tool. Thank you so much for sharing.
I would recommend checking it out.
I'm glad that now we have more technologies that can enable that, and you are now in the area developing something meaningful that can.
Yeah, I definitely think I'm one of the lucky ones, I think, because a lot of people with ADHD aren't nearly as successful in these systems as I've been. And so I think I'm really privileged in a lot of ways to kind of be where I am and have gotten to where I am and through everything. Because a lot of people aren't as lucky, essentially. And I mean, looking at kind of our systems and our educational systems, like having paraprofessionals, I mean, we barely have enough teachers, let alone enough paras to support everyone who needs it.
That's so true.
And so usually our paras are dedicated to those who have like greater needs, but again, it leaves behind so many people. And I don't want to like discredit the work that paras do, because it's really important, but I also want to expand access and empowerment and the help that they can.
When you touch on AI a little bit about like how AI as a tool, Andrew and talk about AI is just like electricity. Back when we don't have lights, that we discovered, oh, there's electricity, and people ask like, oh, what can that do? What will that like destroy something, or will that bring more hope? And now with all the lights around us in the background, we never actually ever noticed that, oh, it's electricity that's empowering all these. Nowadays, I think AI or Gen AI, now the buzzword, I don't know how long it will be going for, but at least for this couple of years, as an AI enthusiast, how do you think about Gen AI in terms of what you are excited about and what part you are concerned?
Oh boy. That's a big question there. Yeah, so I guess things that I'm excited about. So yeah, there's a lot of promise, I think, around Gen AI when it comes to just a vast array of things. So like one thing I'm really excited about is rapid prototyping. So this is something like, take our image generation AI. So this is something that people can rapidly bring into the real world, this thought, this idea that they have in their imagination, without needing to necessarily spend years and years and years developing the ability to paint by hand. And I mean, not to say that painters aren't important, but this expands kind of the ability to prototype out these ideas and then bring them out to, again, figure out, okay, maybe I do actually want to paint this. And
yeah, they focus more on some other task that couldn't be replaced. I wouldn't say replaced, but like AI is just boosting their productivity in some way that's making the cycle like more agile than before.
Yeah, the agility of I think that's the thing that I'm most kind of excited about with that. And again, the kind of automation of more mundane tasks and just kind of the annoying minutia that sometimes I have to go through and do. Like some people have said, like the big promise there of, quote, AI is to kind of free up a bit more time so that we can spend more time being human. And I think it can help us do that and to explore more who we are as individuals and express ourselves better, or at least in the way that we want to, and to, again, explore the human experience a bit more.
That's very promising. In a way, how do you think about the human-computer interaction part that brings along?
Yeah, it's a new frontier, I guess, of interacting with computers. So I'm a big user interface person, And so for a while now, we have all these buttons and parts of our interfaces which kind of mimic the real world. But when it comes to anything around natural language, which is our main form as humans of communication and expressing our ideas, our computers have been completely unable to do anything around that. But now we've taught computers how to understand our language and what that means. And so we can begin to interact with our computers in a bit more natural way, in a similar way that we would communicate with others. And so that ends up kind of, again, bringing this promise that as long as you can communicate what you want to happen using your natural language and you're kind of specific enough, that you can achieve with computers what you want them to achieve.
Yeah, I do started to feel the power of like prompting. It's like you can, yeah, it used to be like you have to know coding to do specific task or to teach the machine to do something. But now you can teach it not just in a coding way, but in a natural language way that you just speak your own language and it can get your task done in a way. So after all the excitement and the possibility of like optimistic like what are some of the concerns that you have or you find so far?
Yeah, I do have a lot of concerns, especially within our historical moment. So here we are in the information age. There's so much information, more than we could ever consume. And then now we have the ability with Gen AI to generate even more information, a lot of which is not necessarily reflective of reality and kind of truth. And in fact, it's at that point where we don't necessarily know kind of or have like a societal consensus on what is true. And so we're facing a lot of just kind of breaks in terms of like understanding of reality. And that's something that we are going to be forced to come to terms with and figure out how to deal with. And I mean, Gen AI is not the only thing that's kind of pushing this, but it really makes things a bit more difficult. Because again, it's so much easier to create just false things.
Yeah, like artificial, and you never know if you are using, if you don't control it properly, you never know you are going to use these, I wouldn't say contaminated, but in a data science way, I would say that this data is contaminated. But in a human world, it's like, it's artificial, and you're using this as the real, the true, the ground truth to have the machine to understand a new concept, which not necessarily will be a good idea. But there's actually a shocking, like maybe not shocking, but very surprising research on that has been done in this area that they have talk about how Gen AI has been performing more accurately and more human when it is trained both in with the human plus artificial data, like versus just the human data alone. So yeah, we never know. Maybe the research is like biased in some way, but definitely that's one of the concerns we always wanted to know about. At least we keep it at the back of our mind about this before making like judgments, decisions based on these.
Yeah. Like you were, that reminded me of kind of how, geez, was this like a year ago maybe? But people were concerned when it came to contaminated data about like, okay, so we're running out of data on the internet to train our models on. And if we feed our models like content that had been generated by those models, it really messes them up. But then now the only way that a lot of our newer models are becoming as good as they are is they're using these data sets that have been generated and curated and created, which is interesting. But I think the main thing that I'm really afraid of is as our models are getting better and better, how are we supposed to know what is true? So if you can generate a video or recording of somebody saying something, how do you know whether or not they said that thing? And there's already been cases of like a kid gets angry at a teacher and generates a fake recording of them saying a terrible thing and getting them fired and like ruining their lives. But it's like they didn't say that thing. And it's something that I think is really scary. And especially as we get other like political figures and stuff there.
As AI gets more generalized to all the populations, the public, it's
Yeah. It's just like,
so
how do we know? How can we treat anything as evidence?
mm-hmm.
So it's like for a while, psychologically having firsthand like witnesses is a really unreliable source because our memory can kind of be manipulated and our recall is changed.
Yeah.
And so having some other data source for evidence is a lot more reliable. But then now having any external data source, like you can generate audio recordings, images, do all these deepfakes and everything. How do you know what's real? It's like
yeah, that's why like I think this is like a very big part in AI. It's about like AI ethics and all the regulations, how we are going to cope with this. I think it's still hard as like AI is growing like exponentially like this. Our regulation is like this. It's like never like even linear, you know, like it's like this or like mixed or this. So
our systems are not prepared for this, and our legislators have no idea about any of this. I mean, they're still trying to come to terms with the internet, let alone generative AI.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I think it's time that like someone like more authoritative or like who has like the enthusiastic or ability to learn more about in the film of Gen AI specifically in this area to actually advocate more and to educate especially like information are so biased nowadays, like how can we actually solve this. I know a lot of people that have been watching this show are also like people that are interested about like AI and applying it to their everyday life. Maybe we're just starting, but it's okay because now Gen AI is also like just starting its year 0, year 1. We are already overwhelmed by how fast it's growing, all the informations, all the startups, all the technology that is developing every day. But don't be scared by that. Now we want to hear about like Tony, your thoughts about how would you suggest people that are interested in AI, but they are just maybe just starting or like they have some certain level of AI knowledge, but not specific Gen AI related. How would you suggest their approach or any resource recommendations that you that they can approach from?
So, I mean, kind of a clarifying point. It kind of bugs me now that our like AI has become the buzz, like a synonym for Gen AI.
Yes,
because AI is
a lot more,
so much more, as you know.
Supervised learning is just, I mean, machine learning is still one of the AI, and
so super useful, really useful tools there. So when it comes to like if people want to get more kind of an understanding of what's going on, kind of like the technical levels, like how Gen AI stuff ends up working, definitely checking out one of the billions of courses out there on machine learning and getting into data science and looking at data and models and how we can do things with that, use the tools around us to come up with models that are useful. So let's see, a classic one for that is Andrew Ng's course on it, like I think it's like Intro to Machine Learning or something. Brilliant. I'm a big fan of Brilliant. Also has some really good data and ML introductions. But other than that, we're at a point with like Gen AI, so we've got like whole like prompt engineers and things like that. So people can begin to interact and create things with Gen AI without understanding all of the technical details underneath. And I mean, again, like you said, it's a really new field and it's exploding rapidly and it's really hard to keep up with things. But I think a really good kind of intro, other than just hopping on to some Gen AI stuff and messing around with it, would be, let's see, my favorite content creator around this is, I think it's Sam Witteveen on YouTube. And he posts fantastic videos which work as kind of, I don't know how he does it, but it's a perfect balance between like an introduction and an exploration to usually something new in the Gen AI scene, along with a use for it.
Yeah, I agree a lot with you about like going back to basics for like if you are just trying to understand about AI or like I said AI here in a generic way of like including. I think the biggest part for AI now is still supervised learning. It's like a big portion. Even natural language processing can be a supervised learning, and for Gen AI, it's actually just a repetitive like supervised learning. It's like like predict for the next word, but like in a very smart way. As like okay, now it's a Gen AI, but still like if you still think that you don't understand or you actually want to understand what is underneath behind the hook of all these technology, then I would suggest, as Tony talked about the basics, it's like introduction to machine learning. It's like super helpful to actually have you understand how we interact with machine. And that builds up your basics to gradually. So Gen AI is just a more advanced version of this that builds up. If you already have a lot of knowledge about that, you want to learn just Gen AI specifically. So you mentioned Sam with
I believe it's Sam Whitavine. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but if you try and phonetically,
you will like definitely find him on YouTube. And a perfect mix of introduction and explanation plus hands-on, which is important because you talk about tooling. You don't want to just learn and then forget about it. You wanted to have hands-on experience. You want to build your tools, and by building your tools, you actually wanted to practice it. And that's how you learn it. Otherwise, it's not called you learn it. If there's like only one key takeaway you wanted to advise people when they're building their career in data and AI, like what will that be?
Let's see. That's a hard question.
A broad question.
Yeah.
But
let me put this into the tool to break it down. Within the current scene, it's really overwhelming, kind of, especially how quickly things are going. And I know that I feel like I'm so far behind with things. But yeah, the key takeaway I think I would have is don't necessarily let that stop you from learning more. Focus kind of less on I need to understand or generative AI or move away from that goal and move more towards I want to understand tools to help me solve problems a bit better. Because then, I mean, every single thing that you do, you're adding another tool to your tool belt, which helps you solve more and more problems. And I mean, I think that's also kind of an important thing is looking at these things as tools and also understanding that certain tools are better than others for a job. So generative AI might not be the solution for your problem. Just because it's a buzzword doesn't mean that it's a good solution to it.
Yeah, that's true. Like 10 years ago, it's like large scale data or something like big data, large scale computing. Does it like really? Well, it definitely create a lot of job in a way, other than like replacing. Now is it like it's over? But like when you look back, all like goes back to application, like you said. It's like tool that how you can utilize this technology, how can you utilize this actually AI as a tool. It's a tool too to make it useful for your problem, like real problem. So that's what it really conveys. Like electricity, now you have lights. With AI, now you have more possibility for those needing accessibilities to learn and grow and hopefully a better society.
Hopefully a better society.
Thank you so much, Tony, today.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Your insights and experience. Everyone, thank you so much for staying. Let us know what are your key takeaways below in the comments, and we'll see you next time.